Hey, welcome to BreitWerks. What are we working on today? 1991 964, and we've got our mains and we've got our rod bearings. So what we're going to do is we are going to set up the first 7 bearings, drop a crank in it, and torque the case down, and use a little bit of that wonderful stuff called plastic gauge just to verify everything's all good. So first step, we cleaned, chem wipes, alcohol, cleaned, and now we're going to get our bearings out. So we'll get on with that and we'll take you along for the ride. So I have seen some super crazy questions on the internet lately. So I don't know if it's newer people that are starting to get into this stuff. I get it, this stuff's pricey, so people try to take it on their own. But here's one thing, these guys come vacuum packed, right? So how do you get them out without scoring your bearings? Because you don't want to score the bearing, you don't want to run a razor blade across the top and score up your bearings. So all you have to do is put a slit in the bottom, right? You put a little slit in the bottom and you can peel your bearings back, and then you flip this over and it becomes a nice little container for you as you're taking them out one by one. Yeah, some of you are sitting there going, Jason, did you really just tell us how to open bearings? But yes, I did. One day over a beer, we'll talk about some of the stuff people have asked us questions. So we're going to finish scoring this up, flip it over, and make it into a nice little container for us. All right, so you can see my container. Some of the bearings kind of moved a little bit, so we're not going to do anything crazy here. I'm just going to set down a paper towel and grab a couple of the ones that didn't fit right. Remember, these are in no particular order right now. These are all brand new. So when we talk about clean, we'll install one bearing together. So first thing we do is we're going to grab a chem wipe. And the number of these I go through, I really ought to buy stock in the company. Now, we're not going to worry about the face right now. What we're going to do, on the back, there's a little bit of a waxy substance, and that's supposed to stay there. You're not scrubbing that off. All you're doing is just trying to get any dust off. That's it. One little wipe. If you see a little transfer come off, not a huge deal. But, and then what we'll do is get you guys down here with me. And we're just going to put in, this is number 7. So the way Porsche mains are numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the 8 is that big radial bearing. So number 7 gets a good wipe. Final clean. We grab our bearing, trying not to touch the back, right? We're just grabbing it from the side. And what you'll notice is that there is a tang on the bearing and there's a cutout in the case. There's also, this is the 4 through 6 side, so there are also oiling holes for the main bearing on this side. So nowadays, they make it so that you have oiling holes in all of the bearings. If for some reason you pull a new old stock set from 1970 whatever, they weren't quite as idiot proof as they are today. So you want to make sure you install the ones that have the oil hole on the side with the bearing. Or I'm sorry, with the feed holes. So again, I'm just grabbing it from the side, and then I'm going to just kind of push it down and get this edge relatively flush, this edge relatively flush, push from both sides, and bam, there you have it. And now before we lay in the crank, since this is just a mock-up, still good practice to clean everything. But one more wipe, new chem wipe, right? You can see that there's some transfer there. But new chem wipe, little rubbing alcohol, boom, and then you put your lubrication on there. We use the driven assembly grease. All right, so we've got one in. I'm going to go on and do the rest of them while you guys get to watch it in super fast speed. All right, so there you have it. 7 main bearings installed, and our thrust bearing in the back. Nothing special there. Again, just make sure you line up the tang. That's it. And we're gonna prep the crank, prep the other half of the case, and then we'll show you when we are ready to put some plastic gauge on here. All right, we got our crank laid in, and let's see if we can get you close enough. We've got our plastic gauge on each one of the surfaces here. So we've got 7 spots. Now, could you do it on both sides? Yeah, you could. Do you need to? No. We're not looking for, you know, 4 decimal places here. We want to make sure that we're consistent and see what our readings come out to be. So, speaking of which, I need to grab the specs, and we are going to torque the case together, and we're just going to do the main bolts. That's it. We're not going to do the perimeter bolts. We're just going to do the mains, and that'll give us a really good idea of where we are. All right, so we've got all of our bolts and cross-through bolts torqued down. So we put the torque sequence on the case there just to make it kind of idiot-proof. And remember, number 14 is on the back side, inside of the chain box. So down in there. So now that we've got those all torqued up, you can see crankshaft sitting right there in the center. Everything looks good. So only thing left to do now, take it all back apart. All right, so we've gotten everything back apart. And before we go to the actual measurements, we need to be between 0.01 and 0.072 millimeters of clearance. So when we look at our little gauge here, what we're looking for, 0.01, which would be not even on here. We'd have to get a different version of plastic gauge. And 0.07, right? So that would be the thinnest line there. Now, we just simply take this guy, and there's our squeezed out plastic gauge. And we say, okay, he looks smaller than that. He looks smaller than that. He looks like exactly that. So we're at 0.51. That's perfect. Same thing here, 0.51. Same thing here, 0.51. Same thing there, 0.51. One more time, matches right up on the 0.51. Same right there. Ooh, this one's a little bit tighter, that rear main, that's fine. And that is at 0.38. So well within tolerance, 100% within tolerance. Those 6, exact same. And the rear one, you know, they do have, we did tighten it down, just the mains. So I'm not worried about that at all. It's actually plenty tight, right? So it's not that we're worried about it being loose. We just don't want it to be too tight, that's for sure. So we have a great crank with bearings, and the case seems to be all square, right? I mean, those are exactly the same. So that's just absolutely fantastic news. So when we go to put this guy together, we can have confidence that our main bearings are perfectly clearanced. So we'll finish up this video. We're going to do the same thing on these rod pins, but we'll do that in another video. So as far as this one's concerned, we know, hey, that's going to be rock solid. So we love it. Have a fantastic day. Check us out at BreitWerks.com. And if you like these kind of videos, hit that subscribe button. And if you are completely offended by plastic gauge, leave a comment. Have a great day. Nope, have a fantastic day. It's an air-cooled world.